Hello and welcome to S&M's Beginner Embroiderer Guide for how to transfer your pattern onto your fabric. In this tutorial guide, we'll show you 3 different ways that you can transfer your pattern onto your fabric by either using regular printed paper, Solvay's stabilizer that is water soluble, or by tracing directly from your device's or tablet screen. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is to show you how to trace from your tablet screen. The first thing you'll do is download your digital copy of the pattern or PDF file. Next, you'll need your fabric and your hoop. For this tutorial, I'm using Kona cotton. You can see how translucent kind of the fabric is already, and I'm using an 8x-inch hoop. I also have 2 different options for tracing. I have my heat dissolvable pen and my water soluble pen. I prefer my heat soluble pen to my water soluble pen, but both work just fine. If you choose to use pencil to trace onto your fabric, just be sure that you're ready to completely cover those pencil markings because they will not wash out when you're done with your stitching. To hoop my fabric, I'm going to lay the smaller hoop down and place my cotton on top. Then take my larger hoop and unscrew the top so it can easily slide over both my fabric and the bottom hoop. Then I'll tighten the screw at the top, securing my fabric in place, and gently pull the edges so that my fabric becomes tight inside my hoop, almost drum-like. You'll notice in my demonstration here that my fabric does not completely cover the edges of my hoop. And since I'm only transferring the pattern right now, that's okay with me. If I were to stitch inside this hoop, I would definitely want my fabric to completely be inside the hoop, allowing me to tighten all edges and not just the top and the bottom. This will make sure that my stitches are nice and tight, but that's for a later video. Let's get started with our tracing. Now that I have my fabric and my hoop, I'm going to take another look at my device. One simple trick on my device is to simply turn my hoop over so that I'm kind of tracing on the bottom of my hoop. This allows me to see the image a lot clearer. However, you'll notice that my screen is still pretty sensitive for when I lay my hoop on top. To help with that problem, I'll turn on guided access in my settings. To turn on guided access, make sure that your shortcut is on, so that you can turn on guided access with 3 simple clicks of your home button. You'll be able to turn it off the same way. Once you turn on guided access, simply outline the areas of your screen that you wish to turn off for your touch. I like to select all the borders of my image, so that way my wrist or my hand that rests on my screen won't accidentally activate those parts. Once you're done tracing, go ahead and turn off guided access. Now, let's talk about how to trace with paper. What you'll need for this one is regular printer paper and your fabric-friendly pen. Once you print your image, simply lay your hoop on top so that the larger hoop size rests on top of your paper. You can also cut out your image and tape it to the bottom of your hoop so that your image stays secure as you trace. Then take your pen and simply trace over your letters and images. The last option is Sulky's water-soluble stabilizer. This works just like printer paper. Once you know what side of the paper your printer prints on, go ahead and load the stabilizer into your printing tray. Then print your image as normal. Once it's printed, you'll end up with something like this. This is my cute little lizard friend that I've printed before, that I've already had printed. Simply peel the back and stick it on your fabric, and then start to stitch. Once you're done stitching, simply soak your stabilizer and fabric in some lukewarm water and it'll dissolve. Be careful with how much printer ink you use on your stabilizer, as sometimes it can stain your fabric or your threads. For our purpose and book marker that we're using in this tutorial, that amount of ink should be just fine. All right, happy stitching!